Ladies and gentlemen, now today we're going to talk about the upcoming changes to Hood that are going to be going live next week. And at least in my opinion, this buff should not be going live. I think they've handled the situation really poorly. And I just don't think the changes are overall kind of what a lot of the Hood players are looking for. Because I think it's more of a big nerf to his utility and a slight buff to his damage output. The damage output in some matches could be really nice, but it takes away massive utility from the character and makes him a very different character from what he is currently. Because I think most people can agree that the biggest thing about Hood is the Fate Seal on the Special 2, just completely stripping away all buffs and cancelling them out for 6.5 seconds. And you can also refresh that Fate Seal using a heavy attack as well. However, with the changes, there are kind of 4 nerfs to this character, but the biggest one is that he doesn't have that Fate Seal on the Special 2 anymore. So you have no way, if the opponent gains buffs, to strip them off the opponent. And also his stagger duration has been decreased from 7.5 to 5 seconds, and it's still a single non-stacking stagger, so his ability to manage buffs against an opponent, which has always been one of the biggest strengths of the character, has just been neutered down really significantly, man. So you can now no longer remove any buffs that are, permanently active on the opponent, and has a much shorter stagger duration as well. And also you can't refresh the shock on heavy attacks, which limits his viability for certain Act 6 paths. I know he's never really the best option, but he's always been an option with his utility for certain stuff, and that's also being stripped away as well. So you don't get the ability to refresh the shock, and obviously there's no Fate Seal to refresh now. And also his invisibility mechanic has been reworked to be an invisibility that starts at 120%, but then every single time the opponent misses you, that chance goes down by 20%. So currently, to evade projectiles and miss projectiles, it's like a flat 90%, so it's very reliable for those multi-hit projectiles, whereas the new changes are going to make him like much better for retaliating against combos. He's going to be really good for off one invisibility, guaranteeing that you can punish and retaliate off like 2 combos there. So yeah, that's going to be nice for his like general play style, but it also like massively nerfs his ability to have that invisibility and have that way to deal with like very annoying projectile based attacks. So again, all of these changes, they make him very different in comparison to what he is currently. So I think, my personal opinion, they should have never gone ahead with this change in the first place, because I think it makes him like a completely different character from what he is now. However, I think the bare minimum thing they can do to kind of respect the investment for anybody that's taken Hood up to like 6-star rank 3 or 5-star rank 5, and there are a lot of players that have ranked this man up because they really enjoy his utility, and at higher ranks as well, it does somewhat mitigate the damage output problems that he does have. So yeah, we got some of the most die-hard like Hood players in the CCP beta, man, and they've been very unhappy with these changes that have been announced. So much so, Cat Murdoch did this like massive write-up on Hood's nerf, and also did an extended 9-page critique on how it's going to change the value of Hood in all sorts of scenarios. And there's like additional stuff as well that we haven't talked about today. It goes into a lot of detail about how this is, a massive nerf for Hood in all sorts of different scenarios. So yeah, if you want to read that, man, links to it will be in the description. But let's talk about all of the changes and all of the updates to Hood, so we can talk about some of the new stuff. Now, the first thing is he's got a new Diablo-style mechanic of loaded bullets. So you start off with 28 and have a maximum of 42, and these persist from fight to fight within a quest. So whenever you nullify a buff, you load 2 bullets, and whenever you make the opponent miss while invisible, you load 1 bullet when the invisibility ends. I'm not too sure if that's like per invisibility or for every single miss during the invisibility duration, but if it's only like 1 per invisibility, man, it's going to be really difficult to gain bullets in any fight where you can't stagger and then nullify the opponent, because again, there's no Fate Seal on Hood Special 2 anymore, so that's the only way to nullify a buff and load bullets there. So yeah, this could be really, really annoying in a lot of scenarios. Massively gimp his damage output if there aren't like buffs available to stagger there. So Hex Pistols on his medium attacks and special 2, you have a 100% chance to fire a bullet and inflict a stacking hex lasting for 12 seconds. And each of these hexes deals a burst of energy damage when it expires, so it's 1150 energy damage, and it's refreshed when a new hex is gained. So the goal with Hood is just to keep on stacking up these hexes on the opponent, and then you want to try and detonate them off the heavy attack, and if you can do that, they deal 75% more damage. So in a scenario where you can gain lots of bullets and also stack up lots of hexes as well, there could be some massive burst damage. I'm curious to see like how much it stacks up to as well, but yeah, in the right matchup, this could be really, really good. Also, if nullifying a buff on stagger like counts for a stack of buffs as well, so for example, if the champion, you nullify his fury and it's like nullifying 5 fury buffs and it gives you 10 bullets there, again, could be very, very strong damage output wise in that scenario. So yeah, the damage output, it could potentially be strong, but it's also hard to tell exactly how it's going to function as well. Also his invisibility, so it still works kind of the same as it does now in terms of the trigger, so dashing back and holding block or using the special 2. I think it's pretty much the same. It's got a 6-second cooldown now, which is a little bit shorter. However, the big change is that currently it's a 45% chance permanently for the opponent to miss, but if they're using projectiles, it's a 90% chance for them to miss. However, the new description is incoming attacks have a 120% chance to miss, but each time the opponent misses an attack, this miss chance is decreased by a flat 20% until the invisibility ends. So yeah, it's not going to work for like those multi-hit projectiles that he's very like famous for being able to deal with at the moment. It's like a very different mechanic. But again, this should be good for retaliating against like 2 medium attacks on the opponent and finding an opening combo. So yeah, it's just like a very different function for the invisibility in comparison to what we have currently. Now for the stagger, as we talked about earlier, the change on the stagger is it is currently 7.5 seconds, but now it's only a 5-second stagger. So yeah, I'm really not too sure why they took off the fate seal and also reduced the stagger duration by 50% as well, man. 5-second stagger can be like very annoying, especially if you're trying to bait out a special attack. One slightly longer, like Vision Arcus, for example. And again, you've got no like on-demand way to trigger this. You have to rely on crit RNG. So yeah, man, they really have stripped back his ability to deal with buffs, by the look of it on paper, fairly significantly. So now his heavy attack pauses all bleed debuffs on the opponent for 5 seconds, and the bleed is off of the special 3, and also causes all hexes to expire immediately with plus 75% potency. So yeah, the heavy attack is kind of your detonation for the hex damage there. And then his special 1, I think is pretty much exactly the same as it is currently, but again, the change to the special 1 shock is that currently you can refresh it using heavy attacks, but from the buff update onwards, I say buff tentatively there, but yeah, you cannot refresh the shock anymore, which is really, really annoying for utility in some scenarios there. And then we got the new special 2, so the final shot spends 5 bullets to grant a 100% chance to inflict a hex vulnerability debuff, increasing the potency of all new and existing hexes by 50% until a hex expires on the opponent. I'm not too sure if this also applies 5 hexes as well, but if it's consuming 5 bullets, so 5 hexes, just to give you this hex vulnerability debuff there, then yeah, that's going to be like really, really bad, I would assume, for consuming your loaded bullets, man. Especially in like a match where you can't gain like additional buffs and stagger them on the opponent. Yeah, this could be really, really terrible, but hopefully it spends 5 bullets, but also applies 5 hexes as well at the baseline minimum there, and also at the end of the attack you Again, activate invisibility. So yeah, there's no fate seal, there's no ability accuracy reduction like there currently is on the special 2, and that is such a huge change in comparison. So yeah, it's just like a very, very different champion, and his utility is so toned down in comparison. So looking at the special 3 as well, I think it pretty much functions exactly the same as it does now. So you get additional attack rating for each 4 bar of power the opponent has, and also you have a 100% chance to inflict a bleed debuff. So the difference is, instead of refreshing the bleed like it is currently off the heavy attacks, then it is pausing the bleed for 5 seconds there. But I still think that's a very unoptimal rotation, at least to the best of my own knowledge and understanding, because yeah, the bleed I don't think has been scaled up significantly in terms of its damage output, because yeah, looking at the special 3 description now, you know, it's pretty much exactly the same. This is like a 4-star rank 3, so again, the values aren't going to be quite as high, but 5-star rank 5 are the kind of values we're looking at here. So yeah, special 3 doesn't look like it's had any changes there. And also on the signature ability, I think the signature ability has been comparatively speaking buffed. So while invisible, the hood becomes stun immune. I think it's only stun immunity when invisibility is off cooldown currently. And also, whenever you fire a bullet while invisible, there's a 45% chance to steal 10% of the opponent's current power, gaining twice that amount in the process. So you're going to gain, power control that's a little bit inconsistent, a little bit unreliable as well, especially if you, like, don't have bullets. So yeah, a little bit more power gain, like, again, very inconsistent, unpredictable power control, which I found never to really be a strength of Hood in his current state, but you are going to gain it while invisible. So again, it might be a nice little bonus to damage output there, but I think a lot of Hood's buff kind of hinges on like how practical the bullet system is, but at least like on paper, I'm kind of seeing like a best case and worst case scenario for it. It could be really bad, Diablo style. But yeah, maybe for certain fights like the champion where he procs, you know, a load of buffs at once and a single stagger is going to clear all of those because they trigger at the same time, could be really, really good. But yeah, I think it's really tough to say at the moment. But I think the main thing is Hood is being changed so dramatically in terms of how his core utility functions that he's like a very different champion in comparison. So I think they've handled this the wrong way, in my opinion. I don't think this is how they should be approaching revamping characters, kind of tearing down the core utility and the current reasons that people run those characters. I think they should be like, okay, Hood's utility at the moment, everybody loves it, it's perfect, let's just add some more damage on top of that. Because yeah, I think if they did that, man, it would have been an overwhelming win. But they've added potentially some really good damage in some fights and scenarios, and in some fights he really is going to suck when you can't gain a lot of bullets. But they've also stripped away like so much core utility from the champion that again, he's just like a very different character. So I must admit, I'm really not impressed with the way that they've handled this, man, and I really hope that they don't go down this route when it comes to changing any other characters, because yeah, I think overall like it's just going to make him a bit more of a niche champion that's worse for a lot of fights. He might have some fights where he really excels, but I think his generalism at the moment, because he's such a good character, even though fights take a very long time with Hood in comparison to other top tier options, like he can get the job done in a lot of nodes and scenarios, and he's really kind of losing that ability to deal with any scenario where he can't like stagger the buffs. He's got no removal for that. His ability to deal with multi-hit projectiles and dodge them has just been completely removed as well, and also on top of that, his ability accuracy reduction on the special 2 has been slipped away. So yeah, I'm not very impressed, man, but let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Again, could be alright, but I just don't think this is a good way to go about revamping champions, at least from my perspective. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all very much for watching, take care, and I hope that you have an absolutely fantastic day.